Nesta primeira edição do EU Europa, uma nova série na SIC Notícias, temos o prazer de, aqui nos estúdios do Parlamento Europeu em Bruxelas, estar com o novo Presidente do Parlamento Europeu, Pdt Buzek, espero ter feito uma boa pronúncia deste nome polaco, e com ele vamos olhar um pouco para a Europa, para o futuro da Europa e para o papel do Parlamento Europeu. Mr. Buzek, thank you very much for being here in this first edition of EU Europa. And when we interview a new President of the European Parliament, you have been here for 5 years, but now you are the President. The first question is obvious. What are your priorities? What are your main interests in your work during this mandate?
Well, best regards to all the citizens in Portugal and everybody who is watching our interview. Well, thank you for inviting me for discussion. Well, and congratulations, because Lisbon is today on everywhere lips for everybody, because everybody is saying about Lisbon Treaty, so important thing for all of us.
Well, in Netherlands, someone was saying no to Lisbon.
Well, I know, but for most Europeans, Lisbon Treaty is very important. Yes. But we have, I'm sorry, I'm not answering straight away your question, but I think it's very interesting that we have also second Lisbon, is a Lisbon strategy. Not everybody knows that it is very important for the European Union. It means research, innovation, new economy, new technologies to be more competitive. Very, very important. But not many people knows about that in the European Union. But it's as important as Lisbon Treaty. Mm-hmm. So Lisbon strategy. I have even a small story about that. If you would like to know that. Yes. I will say about this story. It was in 2004. It was a European Football Championship in Portugal. Mm-hmm. And it was in Lisbon, the final match between Portugal and Greece. You probably remember about that, and all the citizens in Portugal as well. Well, it was question to people in Lisbon streets just after the match. What does it mean, Lisbon strategy? And they usually answered it was special strategy of a Portuguese football team for the final match with Greece. But the strategy lost. So it means people didn't know absolutely what does it mean, Lisbon strategy. But it was grown really in your country. Fantastic strategy in the year 2000. And I think we must remember that we need two Lisbon now, not only Lisbon Treaty. Mm-hmm. And it is also goal during my term now, because you ask
the strategy win.
Both strategies. Mm-hmm. I hope it will be both strategy, because we must be competitive. We must have new technologies to have new economy if you want to overcome crisis. So for crisis is very, very good. And we must be more effective in the European Union. So we need Lisbon Treaty as well. Both of them are very important in the next term. And despite that, is also very important. Energy issue, climate issue, demography and immigration issue, which is important for our citizens, especially in south part of Europe. And of course, foreign policy, human rights, everything we should take on board. And I think we can manage. We have 2.5 years time.
But when we see at least two of the priorities is the combat to the climate change and the try to recover from the economic crisis, most of the decision making is in the hands of the member states. What is the margin of the maneuver for the European Parliament to act?
Well, it's a good question, because now with the Lisbon Treaty, it will be big change in decision-making process. I mean, almost everything will be decided in the Parliament together with the Council. So it means governments, between them will decide, and almost every one decision must be also support supported by European Parliament. So it's a big change. And on the other hand, European Parliament would have also very close contact with national parliaments. It means national parliaments, for example, Portuguese parliament will influence our legislation on the EU level. So on both sides, from European Parliament, very big influence of everything what is decisive in the European Union, and European national parliaments as well. Very new process.
What are you going to do to improve that contact with national parliaments? Actually, it's something that comes with the treaty.
Well, we must have contacts on the level of committees, because it's easier, because they are professionalists, leading committees like budgetary committee or cohesion policy committee or similar committees in the European Parliament and the national parliaments. They should be very different names. And also to have a contact between rapporteurs, because rapporteurs knows very, very well what is going on in the legislation pieces. So both are very important, and we are just preparing something like network of interest between European Parliament and national parliaments. You must also remember that we as European Parliament, we also influence agriculture policy, we influence cohesion policy, so it means structural funds, except of budget, also security, justice, very important for our citizens, external trade. So it's a lot of points which will be in the decision of European Parliament in the future.
We have been talking about the Lisbon Treaty as a fait accompli, but now we still have a problem. Do you really believe that all those problems are going to be overcome?
Well, I visited a few days ago Mr. President Klaus in Czech Republic, and it was a very important visit. And when I was going to him, I felt it is just on behalf of the European Union as a whole. And he proposed small changes. I hope it will be not very big political problem. And after these changes, I think that can be taken even this month, end of October during European Council. We can say that in a few weeks, the whole Lisbon Treaty should be finished, all the ratification. A few days ago in Poland, President of the country signed the treaty as well. We know, all of us, about Irish referendum. Very good result for Lisbon Treaty, because more than 2/3 of population voted for the Lisbon Treaty. Very good result.
And one of the posts, the new posts created by that treaty, is the President of the Council. And there's some debate. Should be someone very visible, or should be someone more discreet? What's your opinion about that?
Well, you are right. There are two proposals, and very different. If we want to have big representation outside the European Union for 2.5 years, because it was a post of President of the Council for 2.5 years, we should have somebody strong, probably, and giving a representation. But I don't think really that it is necessary, because we have every half a year a Prime Minister who is, as a matter of fact, President of the European Council, in the sense that he is leading, he is Prime Minister from presidency, so he's keeping European Council together and organizing its work and legislation during half a year, and it should be kept in the future as well. So it is also possible that we have President of the European Council in the future who will be organizer of meeting of the Council, and real power could be still with the Prime Minister of the presidency. I'm quite sure we can manage with this problem, and to keep a balance between both very important posts in the European Union.
And that would not reduce the power of the President of the Commission?
Well, I think so. it will be even more power in the European Commission because we need more community method. So both European Commission and European Parliament should be stronger. It is better for smaller countries. Why? Because European Commission is deciding together. 27 commissioners or something. It's the same European Parliament. We have 736 parliamentarians sitting around and listening to each other. We can much more understand each other because we spend all the time together. Parliamentarians in the European Parliament from all the countries, for all the regions, in direct election. It is only one such institution in the European Union. It means very important from this point of view. So we can take care much more about slightly weaker countries because they are smaller, or maybe weaker regions, unlocked yet, because it is visible for us. We are just coming from such regions, many of us. So from this point of view, I think community methods, so it means more power to European Commission and European Parliament, is better method.
I'm covering European affairs for almost 30 years, and I remember the first time I came to Brussels, there was still a smaller group of countries. One of the things they told me that we have a problem with public opinion, with the image of the European Union. Now, in the last elections, European elections, we have seen that many people have voted with their feet. So there is a problem with image. What are you intending to do to try to join the others to try to solve this problem?
Well, you see, it's an old problem, as you said. So we must try to do something. There are some ideas. It should be more interesting for the public opinion, and one of the ways is to go through national parliaments, because it is necessary to keep contact. Because election to national parliament and national politics and policy is very interesting for the people. So going on this way, we must be more interesting. I would like to invite Mr. President of European Commission, Mr. Barroso, for so-called question hour every month, and to have
he said already
open
was
question.
Available for that.
Well, yeah, open question to him from political groups, for the members, just to make everything more interesting. Or transmission online from our committees, when sometimes it's fantastic discussion, very hot. On plenary session, everything is, as a matter of fact, after compromise. It's not so interesting discussion. But in committees, you don't know compromise yet. So you must argue, you must discuss. So online, in TV, transmission from 12 committees would be very, very interesting. And I think these proposals could be effective from point of view of turnout in 5 years, or our offices in every one member state, offices of the European Parliament and European Commission, so-called European houses. We are just building European houses. We want to have in every one country European house. I'm just opening one of them in Austria in a few days.
Mm-hmm. Intending to open one in Portugal?
Well, of course, it will be. Well, it takes time, one after another. So it is one of the first in Vienna, just a European house.
Mm-hmm. And how does it work, these European houses? Just get together?
Well, yeah, it's Office of European Parliament and Office of European Commission being the same house, and some also places for cultural events, for meeting people, for discussion, seminars, and some cultural events are also very important, just to present from our member states to the certain member states in which the office is placed, how things are going, European Commission. Well, hot discussion to invite journalists and to discuss, to show something. So it could be fine. We have institutes, for example, bilateral between countries. Well, whenever in Lisbon, in Madrid, in France, we have institutes or offices from bilateral relations from different countries. Now we would like to have in every one capital European house and to present the whole European Union in this European house.
In all my European coverage, I think I've been interviewing almost all the presidents of the European Parliament.
Great,
But
very fine.
But this is the first time I have a president of the European Parliament coming from the eastern part of the European Union. Is that a special meaning for you?
Well, of course, it's special meaning. I spent 44 years in communism. Before that, it was war, and 44 years until '89. Then started a freedom for my country. It was just solidarity, revolution, without shooting, of course. It was without using power, but people and millions of people, it means they are most powerful in such a revolution. So we changed to non-communist government in the middle of '89. Later it was demanding of Berlin Wall in few months later. So it's just no iron curtain, as you said, and for some countries, for 10 countries, it's absolutely new era. It is even difficult to imagine how important it is for myself just to be, member of the European Parliament. I never dreamed to be a president of the European Parliament. I didn't even think in my life that I will be a member of my parliament over decades. So it's absolutely new situation for me, unexpected, and we can say wonderful, wonderful time for our countries, all of them, on the opposite side of the Iron Curtain. And for somebody who is living for many years in the west part of Europe, it was always easier after the war. In our country it was very difficult, really. There was no freedom at all. So was no solidarity, no freedom, no possibility to develop, to go abroad. So being in open Europe, from Lisbon, you can go to Helsinki without having any passport, any document. It's fantastic. So for all the countries, I feel they need something new. But first of all, we are together. We are responsible, all of us, 27 countries. No more new and old member states. We are the same responsibility. That is very important. The same responsibility for our common future.
And I remember when the Berlin Wall came down, there were people in the West afraid of what would happen with the opening of the frontier, the borders with the Eastern European countries, saying that will be immigration, that will be crime, that will be everything. Now history has proved that they were not right. They were wrong.
Yes, but you know, I heard such a history when Spain and Portugal were coming, both countries, to the European Union.
It was exactly the same.
In France, people are sitting in the streets and saying, no, we don't like Spaniards and Portuguese in the European Union. And, well, somebody had to explain them. Our strength in the European Union is to be together, is to have in front of us next enlargement. Now it is of course difficult because it was a huge enlargement a few years ago. So we must go towards deeper integration now, rather than to go to next enlargement. Except of Croatia, it's not a big country, or maybe Macedonia. But a bigger enlargement, we must wait. After all, it is necessary to prepare the new member states, future member states. Copenhagen criteria, they are very difficult to fulfill, so it's not easy. Turkey is negotiating 46 years, being in negotiating and not fulfilling the Copenhagen criteria from point of view of human rights and some other points.
One last question, a personal question. We have been talking about the change in Europe, the fall of the Berlin Wall. When the Berlin Wall has fallen, where were you and what did you feel?
Well, I was in a free country, Poland, working in my institute. It was Institute of Polish Academy of Sciences. I had a serious post there and being scientist. Before that, because Solidarity won few months earlier, I was in Solidarity Underground for a few years because it was prohibited, was no possibility to be in free trade union. Before that, I mean 81, I was a member of Solidarity, organizing it. 10 million people was members during communist times inside Solidarity. And I was also chairman of the first National Congress of Solidarity in 81. It was first National Congress, and is still being a chairman, president of the Congress, is still the most important thing which happened in my life. You cannot believe. Because even being prime minister or being president of European Parliament, well, it was everything because before that, before those, Solidarity could be organized, and Solidarity won. Thanks to them was free Poland, Polish accession to EU. I am a member of European Parliament, the president, but the most importantly, to be in Solidarity and be a chairman of the first National Congress.
Mr. Buzek, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.